You know, I bet everybody here thought that you guys were coming to a TED Talk. I mean, obviously, because there are TEDxTAMU signs everywhere. But what if I told you that today you guys were coming to a funeral? A funeral for the things that really have been killing you, killing your creativity, killing your ability to be your complete, authentic self, killing your ability to switch career paths, areas of study, or even show up as your authentic self in the spaces that you're in. Now, if I was talking to a group of kindergartners, and let's be honest, everyone in this room is a kid at heart, I would describe these things as those which keep us from coloring outside of the lines. And I want everybody to do this little exercise with me. So if you will, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to remember the very first time that you got a coloring book and crayons. I'm talking about smell the waxy smells, the fresh paper, since you had absolutely no idea how to color, but you knew that you had a black and white page full of endless possibilities. I'm talking about red trees, pink people, green eggs, and ham. You open up the coloring book to start translating the creative world in your mind to the pages when all of a sudden either mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, or even a teacher, they lean over your shoulder, tap it, and say, make sure you color inside of the lines. And instantly, a world of creative bounds is created, and there's a right way and a wrong way, and they even go a step further. That's not all. They say, people are black and white. They're not purple. Trees are green. Be realistic. Now, if we're honest, this is just one of many situations and moments that created and planted seeds for fear of deviation. And for the most of us in this room, we have never fully recovered from that. But that's why I'm here today. I'm here because there are people in this room that still feel called to color outside of the lines. They feel called to do something to which there is no precedent to. They feel called to shake up the industries they are in, switch something that they have absolutely never seen done before. So today, I'm talking to that little kid inside of you. I'm talking to those people. In order to do these things, there are 3 deaths that you need to live your most authentic life. The first death you have to die is death to the rigid plans that we have for our lives. The second death we have to die is death to the voices of the outside world. And the third death we need to die is to the person that you had to be to keep yourself where you are. So let's get started killing some things off. The very first death in today is, again, death to the rigid plans for our lives. And let me just set the stage for you all, right? So strides in my journalism career. I'm talking about making history as the first full-time digital news anchor. I was steeped in a community who loved me, and I loved them back. I was rocking and rolling, speaking things, and then it came time for me to sign or terminate my. Doing some fasting and some praying, I got confirmation that it was time for, right? So with one foot in the door and one foot out of the door, I was so ready to go to what I thought the only logical next step in my professional career was, go to my dream city, Washington, D.C., to do my dream job, be on daytime TV, to live my dream life, get married, and become the fun, rich auntie and uncle that everybody wants. Like, I had it in my mind. That was what I was going to do. And what turned out to be a door, bolted shut, wrapped in grace, with a little note on it that says, not yet, turned out to be the best thing for my life. Because Daniel says that life is lived forwards and experienced backwards. And so now in hindsight, I can see that my talent had become a guild for somebody who had become their job, who had defined their self-worth and what I did and who I did it for and even where I was doing it at. Death to the rigid plan for my life made me realize that I was a human. I wasn't a robot. It prepared my heart for the journey. It prepared me for the weight of success. And while this was not an overnight thing, y'all, this process took a year, and I'm going to break it down for you over the course of my speech. It was absolutely necessary. Because life will only be as rewarding as we are able to be nimble yet firm through our self-awareness. We are all people who have sometimes been scared to color outside of the lines. It's happened to the best of us. But we have to remember to do this because there are things that are waiting in the detours of life. Experience is created in the detours of life. So now, we've killed off the rigid plans for our lives, right? I'm back home. The next death we're dying is death to the outside voices, right? Death to the outside voices looks like putting on blinders after you have a conviction, right? And not being swayed left or right by the opinions of what others think that you should be doing. So I'm back at home, right? And then with Dad, out of everybody, I'm back at home with Dad. And remember, I went home on a conviction, but not on confirmation that there was any job waiting on me, right? So I did what any 23-year-old back at home with their father would be doing. I am ferociously applying for jobs, trying to get up out there, right? I mean, I'm talking about I'm waking up at 7 a.m. every morning, putting in 5 to 10 applications, calling people on LinkedIn I have never met, and not stopping until 6 p.m. I was working a full-time job, right? Because applying for a job is a job. And you know, with each interview I had, though, something inside of me knew that this is not the job that I should be taking. This was not the job for me. And I also had a knowing that if I used the path that required my faith and that required patience, that I would get everything promised to me. And I made a decision a long time ago that I was not going to compromise for myself or for anybody else, right? So I'm doing these things, I'm applying for jobs, and parallel to this season of my life, I also have people, friends and family members that for the most part out of love were giving me suggestions on what they thought I should be doing as well. And I even got some passive aggressive comments, right? Comments like, are you sure that you can afford to be doing this? And your dreams are always gonna be there. Why don't you just settle and get something for the time being? Or one of my favorites, right? Don't you go home back to Houston and embarrass me and not have anything to show for all of your success. I'm serious, somebody told me that, right? Death to the outside world is so important in the outside voices because people will try to trick you into thinking the path that you are on isn't the one you should be on because it doesn't look like how they thought it should look. Now, I don't take for granted. I am very blessed, right? And betting on yourself should be calculated, especially as an adult. However, I will raise to you that if you have a conviction and a knowing inside of your soul that though the path you're on is less traveled, it's the path that you should be on, never be afraid to choose the path that requires faith in yourself or in a higher power. This is important, guys, because people will view your situation through the hermeneutic of their own successes, their failures, their upsets, their pains, and their past. And that has nothing to do with them. This is also hard because it may mean that you have to put to rest and shut out the outside voices of people that you love. I'm talking about mom. I'm talking about dad. I'm talking about grandma, grandpa, mentors, really anything and anybody that did not get the vision or the knowing that you have deep down inside of you. This is important to do, remember, because outside voices can try to sway you. And even in your journey, there is not only beauty in the detours of life, there are things waiting on you and assignments waiting on the path less traveled. So now we've put to rest the rigid plan for our lives, right? We put to rest the voices of the outside world. And the final death that we have to die is death to the person that we had to be to keep us bound. So I'm at home, right? I'm at home with dad. There's nothing glamorous about being at home with your father, right? Let's just be honest. There's nothing glamorous about that. So I'm home, and around the 6-month mark, I began to realize that this process was to humble me because if I got my blessing too soon, would forfeit it because it didn't come gift wrapped in what I thought it should, right? So around the 9-month mark, I began to pray, and I said, okay, well, you know what? If you're not going to take me to my next, at least give me a vision of what it's going to look like, right? Give me something to look forward to. So I fell asleep one day, and I had a dream. And in that dream, I saw this big gold lit up building on my right, and variations of tall and short buildings to my left. And in the middle, I saw a big building that came to a point with a huge long receiver in the middle. Now, I've traveled the world, right? But I've never seen this skyline before. And it clearly was not my dream city of DC. So I got up and I scribbled that thing in my journal and I put that journal away. I was not trying to hear it, right? So then, about a month to the day later, I'm applying for jobs, right? And I applied for this job in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City. Ugh. I saw it how I just said it. Like, that's what I viewed Oklahoma City as, just dirt. And so I get online and I'm like, okay, well, I've never been to Oklahoma City before, but this job is every single thing that I have wanted minus the location. I mean, it's in lifestyle. I'm doing more on camera stuff. Let me just look up what Oklahoma City looks like, right? And after a quick Google search, I kid you not, I saw the exact skyline photo that I saw in my dream. And after 9 months of becoming the person that could handle the weight of what I've been praying for, that was able to be nimble yet firm through my self-awareness, I was able to let my gifts make room for me where I was supposed to go. Death to the person that we had to be to keep ourselves bound is very important, guys. Because a lot of times on us are not the expectations of other people, it's expectations of ourselves as well, right? We all have fallen victim to where we think that we should be and the people that we think that we should be, but being home allowed me to see that I wasn't that girl. I was not the woman that I thought I was or even the woman that I wanted to be. I had become someone who had become my job and who had created her self-worth so much so around something so fickle that could be taken away from me, a job title, where I was doing it. Going back home and death to, again, the person that I had to be involved me divorcing who I was from what I did. It made me realize that I was so much more and so much valuable and so much, I should say, more valuable just as a person breathing. This is important because if we are going to be going anywhere, we have to remember that our purpose is what we were put on this earth to do. And that does not change. That's solidified in every single one of us. But our calling is where we are supposed to walk this out. The job or industry meant to use to express it. And that does change. And you can't lose who you are because there's been a change in your assignment. So, we've died 3 deaths today, right? One for the rigid plan for our lives, the other for the voices of the outside world, and our final death that we've died is to the person we had to be to keep us bound. And I want to invite you guys to go through grief because becoming the most authentic version of yourself, it is tiring, it's emotional, and it takes time. But when you're ready, I want to invite everybody to make a eulogy, not just for this person, but for all of the ideas, for all of the things that you've personally killed off today, for these mindsets. Because if you're serious about the assignments attached to you, you're going to have to put these things down, and you cannot resurrect them, guys. Remember, death is final. And as you guys probably have figured out by now, coloring outside of the lines is just a metaphor for doing anything outside of the assignments attached to the most authentic version of yourself. And I mean, the good part about it is that if you're listening to me in this room, you ain't dead yet, right? That means that you still have time, right? There are assignments specifically assigned to that person that you are needing to become. There are people waiting to be impacted by your story. There are people waiting to be impacted by what you will do once you say yes. We are waiting on you to say yes. The only thing getting in the way is you. Thank you.